My husband brought me to a high-stakes business dinner and said one thing in the car.
Don't jump into the conversation. Just smile.
I noted, like I always did. The rain was tapping on the windshield, and his phone screen kept lighting up his face.
Keep your answers short if they talk to you. Don't overthink it.
He said it like he was coaching a new hire, not talking to his wife. And I could have said something. I could have asked why I always needed instructions. But I didn't, because I'd learned the rules in our marriage. The rules were simple. Be easy, be quiet, be useful.
We're almost there. Fix your hair a little. You look good. Just keep it simple tonight.
He thought I wouldn't understand a word once they switched languages. He thought I'd sit there beside him, pretty and harmless. He didn't know I'd been fluent in Spanish for a year. Every sentence, every joke, every side comment, every lie. I learned it in silence. Late nights, earbuds in, Duolingo streaks, podcasts on my commute. Not to impress him, not to level up, just to remember who I was before I became an accessory.
Remember, don't try to be funny. Let me do the talking.
His voice was calm, like he was doing me a favor. And I watched him in the driver's seat, one hand on the wheel, the other checking his tie in the phone camera. He looked so sure of himself, so sure that I was exactly what he decided I was.
If they ask what you do, just say marketing. Don't get into details. It's not the point.
I swallowed hard and stared out at the lights on 101, because that was the point. I had details. I had a whole life of details, but he didn't want my life. He wanted my appearance, a navy dress, a polite smile, a woman who didn't complicate his story.
We're walking in together. Smile, okay?
Okay, I said. And in that moment, I realized something. If he was this comfortable controlling the room, if he was this comfortable shrinking me in the car, then what would he say about me when he thought I couldn't understand him at all? I didn't feel angry yet. I felt clear, like the fog had lifted. And for the first time in my life, I started counting. My name is Megan Carter. I'm 35. And I was married to Ryan for 12 years. From the outside, we looked solid. A townhouse in Mountain View, a Costco run on Sundays, one vacation a year, holiday photos, dinner with friends, the whole normal, respectable package.
Did you get the paper towels this time, or am I stopping at Target later?
He always said things like that. Little jokes that weren't jokes. Ryan worked at a tech company in Palo Alto. He moved up fast. He loved titles and org charts and being the guy who handled things.
This quarter is brutal. I can't carry dead weight right now.
And I worked in marketing at a smaller company. Not glamorous, but real. I was good at it. I built campaigns, managed accounts, hit targets, and kept relationships alive when everyone else got bored and moved on.
That's nice. You like it, right?
But over time, something shifted. Not in a dramatic way. Not in one big fight. It was slower than that. Quiet. Like the lights dimming so gradually you don't realize you're standing in the dark. Ryan got busier. More important. At least that's what he told me.
I'm booked all day. Don't wane up.
Late nights, conferences, quick calls that turned into 2 hours. And when he was home, he was either staring at his phone or too exhausted to speak. Our conversations turned into transactions.
Did you pay the HOA? Can you schedule the plumber? Don't forget we have dinner with the Thompsons on Saturday. I need you to handle the dry cleaning.
I told myself this was normal. This is what happens after a decade. The passion fades, the routine sets in, and you just make it work. And I got really good at shrinking. I got good at swallowing the lonely feeling that showed up at night when he was in his home office, door closed, just catching up. I got good at pretending I didn't care that he didn't ask me anymore. And then, about 1.5 years ago, I stumbled onto something that changed me. It was 2 a.m. Ryan was asleep beside me, breathing heavy like he'd earned his rest. I was scrolling, not even sure what I was looking for, when an ad popped up for Duolingo. Spanish. I'd taken Spanish in college. I wasn't fluent, not even close, but I'd loved it. The rhythm, the logic, the way it felt like stepping into a different world. Back then, I used to dream about traveling. about doing something bigger, about being a version of myself that wasn't just someone's wife. Then I met Ryan, we got married, we built the stable life, and that part of me got packed away in a drawer labeled cute but impractical. That night, I downloaded the app out of curiosity, just to see what I remembered. I remembered more than I expected, and within weeks, I was hooked. Every evening, while Ryan watched CNBC or answered emails, I sat at the kitchen table with earbuds in, working through lessons. I started listening to podcasts for learners on my commute. I watched Spanish language shows with subtitles, then without. I didn't tell Ryan. Not because I was hiding it exactly, but because I'd learned what happened when I shared something he didn't value. 3 years earlier, I'd mentioned wanting to take a photography class, just for fun.
A photography class?
Megan, you take pictures with your iPhone like everyone else. You don't need a class for that. Besides, when would you even have time?
After that, I stopped bringing up my interests. It was easier than defending them, so Spanish became my secret, my private world, my quiet proof that I still existed. And I was good at it, really good. I practiced every day, sometimes 2-3 hours. I booked weekly video sessions with tutors. I joined an online study group. After a year, I could follow conversations easily. Not perfect, but fluent enough to understand nuance. Fluent enough to hear what people meant, not just what they said. And it did something to me. It reminded me that I wasn't stuck, that I wasn't finished, that I could still grow, even if no one noticed. Then, one evening in October, Ryan came home early. Not just early, energized, excited. Like the old Ryan, the one I used to believe in.
Big news.
He loosened his tie, opened the fridge, and grabbed a Topo Chico like he was celebrating.
We're close to locking a partnership with a group out of LA. This could be huge. Their CEO is flying up next week, and I'm taking him to dinner. You'll need to come.
I looked up from the cutting board. Me?
Yeah, he asked if I'm married. They're big on family optics, stability. You know how it is.
I waited for the part where he asked if I was comfortable, or if I wanted to come, or anything that sounded like he saw me as a person. Instead, he said it like a checklist.
Just look nice, smile, be charming. The usual.
The usual. Something about the way he said it made my stomach tighten, but I swallowed it. Sure. When?
Thursday, 7. We're going to Spruce in San Francisco. Wear that navy dress, the one with sleeves. Conservative but polished.
Then he looked at me, actually looked at me, and added the part he thought would make it easier.
And Megan, one more thing. They speak Spanish a lot. Their CEO's English is fine, but we'll be doing most of the real talking in Spanish. You'll probably be bored. Just smile through it.
My heart did this strange little jump. You speak Spanish?
Picked it up over the years. We've been working with Latin American clients. Plus, I've got people on my team who speak it. I'm basically fluent now. It's one of the reasons they're considering me for director.
He didn't ask if I spoke Spanish. He didn't wonder if I might understand. Why would he? In his mind, I was the wife who showed up, smiled, didn't embarrass him, and disappeared. I turned back to the cutting board. That sounds wonderful, honey. I'll be there. After he left the kitchen, I stood at the counter, knife in my hand, my mind racing. An opportunity had just landed in my lap. A chance to hear how Ryan spoke when he thought I was deaf to him. A chance to hear what he really believed about me, about our life, about our future. The week crawled. I refreshed business Spanish vocabulary, polite forms, negotiation phrases. The kind of language people use when they're selling a story, not telling the truth. I didn't know what I expected. Maybe nothing. Maybe I was paranoid. Maybe it would just be a boring dinner and I'd feel silly for building it up. Thursday came. I wore the navy dress Ryan chose. Modest heels, simple jewelry. I looked in the mirror and saw exactly what he wanted. Presentable, controlled, safe.
You look good. Keep it simple tonight.
In the car, Ryan checked his tie and the phone camera and gave me one more set of instructions, like I was an intern.
Be pleasant. Don't try to participate in the business talk. If they address you in English, keep it brief. We need him focused on the partnership, not distracted by small talk.
I nodded. I swallowed the bitter taste rising in my throat. We arrived 15 minutes early. The restaurant was warm and expensive, the kind of place where the menu has no prices, and the staff says your name like it matters. Their CEO was already seated. His name was Carlos Alvarez, mid-40s, crisp suit, calm eyes, the kind of man who doesn't need to prove he's important, because the room already knows. We shook hands, smiled, small talk in English. Carlos's English was better than Ryan implied, clear, just accented, polite, controlled. Then, as soon as menus arrived, they drifted naturally into Spanish. Ryan's Spanish was smooth. He sounded confident, comfortable. They talked projections, expansion, market positioning, customer acquisition. I sat quietly, sipping water, smiling at the right moments. And then Carlos turned toward me and asked, in Spanish, what I did for work. It was a simple question, polite, respectful. I opened my mouth, ready to pretend I didn't understand.
Oh, Megan works in marketing, but it's a small place, nothing serious. More of a hobby to keep her busy. She mostly takes care of the house.
I kept my face neutral, but inside something twisted hard. A hobby. I'd worked in marketing for 15 years. Real budgets, real clients, real results. And he reduced my entire career to something cute I did to stay occupied. Carlos nodded politely. He didn't push. But he glanced at me again, and I swear I saw the smallest flicker of discomfort. Dinner continued. Course after course. Perfect service. Soft lighting. Ryan kept talking. And as I listened, I realized something else. Ryan wasn't just speaking Spanish. He was becoming a different version of himself in Spanish. More aggressive, more boastful. He exaggerated his role on projects, took credit for teamwork, painted himself as the center of every success. It wasn't cartoonish, it was subtle, but it was constant. Then Carlos said something about work-life balance, about how demanding careers require support, and how family matters.
Honestly, my wife doesn't really understand the business world. She's content with a simple life. I handle the important decisions. Finances, planning. She's just there for appearance. Keeps the house running. Looks good at events like this.
It works for me. I don't have to worry about a wife with big ambitions getting in the way.
My fingers tightened around my water glass. I kept smiling, because if I reacted, he would stop, and I needed to hear everything. Carlos made a neutral sound. He shifted slightly. His face stayed polite, but his eyes changed, like he was seeing Ryan more clearly than he wanted to. Ryan didn't notice. He never noticed discomfort in other people. He only noticed approval. Carlos asked Ryan's long-term goals.
The director role is basically mine, and after that, I'm aiming for VP within 5 years. I've been positioning myself, building the right relationships.
Then he said it casually, like he was talking about moving a couch.
My wife doesn't know this yet, but I've been moving some assets around. Setting things up through a separate LLC, just smart planning. If my career requires relocation or big changes, I need flexibility to move fast without joint accounts slowing me down.
My blood went cold, moving assets, without telling me, preparing for a future that didn't include me, or at least a future where I wouldn't have access to what we built together. I sat there smiling blandly while my husband described an exit plan. Carlos asked how Ryan handled stress.
I have my outlets. There's someone at work, Jenna. She's in finance. We've been seeing each other for about 6 months. My wife has no idea. Honestly, it's been good for me. Jenna understands my world, my ambitions. We talk strategy, make plans. It's refreshing after coming home to someone who can't discuss anything more complex than what's for dinner.
I didn't move. I didn't blink. My face felt frozen, like my body had decided it would protect me by shutting down everything visible. Inside, I was shattering. 12 years of marriage, and this was how he saw me. A hobby, an accessory, a safe, simple woman who wouldn't interfere. And while he thought I was sitting there clueless, he confessed to an affair and a plan to move money out of my reach. Carlos was uncomfortable now, clearly. He redirected the conversation back to neutral business topics. His answers got shorter, more formal. The energy changed. Ryan didn't notice. He kept talking like he was winning. The dinner ended. We stood in the lobby for goodbyes. Carlos shook Ryan's hand. Then he turned to me. In careful English, he said, "It was a pleasure meeting you, Mrs. Carter. I wish you well." There was something in his eyes, a softness, a respect. Like he knew, like he had seen the understanding on my face for one tiny second and realized what was happening. On the drive home, Ryan was pleased with himself, humming along to the radio.
That went great. Carlos is impressed. We're gonna close this.
"That's wonderful," I said, and my voice sounded hollow even to me. At home, Ryan kissed my cheek like a routine and headed for his office.
I've got emails. Don't wait up.
He closed the door. I walked upstairs, closed our bedroom door, stood in the silence. And then I did something I never thought I would do. I called Lauren. Lauren had been my best friend in college. We drifted apart over the years, partly because life happens, and partly because Ryan always had a subtle way of making my friendships feel inconvenient. Lauren became a family law attorney in San Jose. She'd been through her own divorce 5 years ago. We'd reconnected recently through Instagram messages. Nothing deep, just surface level. But that night, I needed deep. She answered on the second ring. Her voice was sleepy and surprised. "Megan, it's almost 11. My voice cracked. I said, "I need a lawyer." We talked for 2 hours. I told her everything. The dinner, the Spanish, the accounts, the affair, the years of being made smaller. Lauren listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "First, breathe. Do that for me." I breathed. She said, "Second, do not confront him yet. Not a word, not a hint." I told her I didn't have proof, just a conversation. She said, "That's okay. We build proof." She told me to gather documentation I could legally access. Bank statements, tax returns, investment records, copies, photos, dates. She said, "If he's moving money, there will be a trail." I told her I was scared. She said, "I know, but you're capable. You learned an entire language without him noticing. You can do this, and you're not alone." After we hung up, I sat on the edge of the bed and let myself feel everything I'd held back. Rage, betrayal, grief, fear. But underneath it all, something else was forming. Cold, clear, determined. I wasn't going to be the wife for appearance anymore. The next morning, I called in sick.
Sick? Today?
Ryan barely looked up from his phone. He made a sound that might have been annoyance or approval.
Fine, don't make it a thing.
He grabbed his laptop bag and left. The moment his car pulled away, I started. Ryan had a home office, clean, organized, his space. But I knew where he kept things. I opened drawers, file folders, a locked cabinet that, of course, used a key he left in the same spot every day. I found bank statements going back 3 years, tax returns, investment account summaries. I photographed everything and uploaded it to a private cloud folder Lauren set up for me. And then I saw it. 2 accounts I'd never seen before. Transfers that looked small on their own but added up fast. Money moving into an LLC, then out again to an account I didn't recognize. Over 8 months, more than $50,000 shifted quietly away from our joint savings. I felt sick, but I kept going. Lauren told me to be thorough, so I was thorough. I found emails too, printed and filed. Correspondence about an investment property in Sacramento I didn't know we owned. Except it wasn't we. It was him. Only his name. Only his signature. And then I found messages with Jenna. He'd printed some of them, probably because he needed dates or numbers. Careless, confident. The content was intimate, explicit. Plans for a future that clearly didn't include me. One line stopped my breathing. Once I handle the Megan situation, we can stop hiding. The Megan situation. That's what I was to him. A situation. I spent the next 6 weeks quietly gathering evidence, living with a man I now saw clearly for the first time. Every smile felt like a lie. Every casual touch made my skin crawl. But I played the role. I cooked dinners, asked about his day, nodded at his stories, pretended nothing had changed.
You've been quiet lately. Everything okay?
Yeah, I said, just tired. Lauren built the case. I met her twice a week. We organized documents, created timelines, identified legal angles. We were going to file for divorce and, at the same time, report his misconduct through his company's ethics process. Because the thing about Ryan's world is that they don't forgive risk. The financial maneuvering created risk. The hidden relationship with someone in finance created risk. It wasn't just a marriage problem. It was a career problem. During one meeting, Lauren asked me, "Are you sure you want to go this far?" She said, "The company piece is nuclear. He could lose everything." I said, "He was already planning to leave me with nothing." He said it out loud. "I'm just moving first." We picked a Friday. Lauren filed the divorce papers Thursday afternoon. Friday morning, I got dressed like I was going to work. But instead of driving to my office, I drove to Lauren's. Ryan's HR department received our evidence package at 9. The divorce papers were served to him at 9:30. I sat in Lauren's conference room, staring at the clock, drinking coffee I couldn't taste. My phone was off. I didn't want to watch him panic in real time. At 11, Lauren got confirmation. Served. Evidence received. Administrative leave pending investigation. Lauren looked at me and asked, "How do you feel?" I said, "Terrified." Then I said, "But..." Right. That night, I stayed at Lauren's. She had a guest room. We ordered Thai takeout. She poured me a glass of wine. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. Ryan called again and again. Voicemails moved through stages. Confused, angry, pleading, threatening, bargaining. I didn't listen. Lauren did, documenting everything. On Saturday, escorted by Lauren and a police officer as a precaution, I went back to the house to collect my belongings. Ryan was there. Unshaven, rumpled, eyes red.
Megan, please, just talk to me.
I lifted a hand. Don't.
Let me explain.
Explain what, Ryan? That you've been cheating? That you've been moving money? That you called my career a hobby? That you told Carlos I'm just there for appearance? His face drained of color. I said, I heard every word at that dinner. Every single word.
You don't speak Spanish?
I said, I've been fluent for a year. I said, funny how you never asked.
The company put me on leave. They're investigating. Megan, I could lose my job.
I said, that's not my problem anymore. I started toward the stairs.
Wait, we can fix this. Couples therapy. I'll end it with Jenna. We can work through this.
I turned back and looked at him. Really looked. The man I'd spent 12 years with. The man I believed loved me. I said, you don't want to fix us. I said, you want to fix your career, your image, your money.
That's not true.
I said, at that dinner, you told them I'm too simple. I said, too unambitious. I said that I'm basically a live-in housekeeper who looks good at events. I said, do you even remember saying that? He went quiet, and his silence answered for him. I said, I'm done being small for you. I said, I'm done being convenient. I packed for 2 hours. Ryan didn't try to stop me again. He just sat there, staring into nothing, like a man watching his own story fall apart. The divorce took time. California requires a waiting period, and the months in between were negotiations and paperwork and evidence I never wanted to see. Ryan's company investigation found sufficient ethical violations. They terminated him. He found another job eventually, but lower level, lower pay. The hidden accounts had to be disclosed. The LLC had to be explained. The property had to be added to the marital assets. In the end, I walked away with half of everything he tried to hide, plus spousal support while I rebuilt. But the best part, the part I never saw coming, happened 2 months into the divorce process. Carlos reached out to me on LinkedIn. His message was brief and warm. He said he'd heard about the divorce. He said his company was expanding and needed someone who understood American branding and Spanish-speaking markets. He said my skill set would be invaluable. I met with his team in San Francisco. This time, I spoke Spanish from the first sentence. Carlos's eyes lit up with genuine respect. And something else. Maybe amusement. Maybe relief. At the end of the interview, he said, "I knew."
I blinked. He said, "The way you held yourself at dinner, for a moment I saw it in your eyes. Understanding. They offered me the job. Senior marketing director. Salary nearly triple what I'd been making. I accepted. I'm 58 now. That all happened over 20 years ago. And I remember every detail. The divorce was brutal, but it gave me my life back. I ran that department for 15 years before retiring. I traveled for work. I built real friendships. I became someone who existed beyond being somebody's wife."
I never remarried. I dated. I had one serious relationship that lasted 5 years, and we ended it kindly. But I never again made my world small to fit someone else's vision. Ryan emailed me once, about 3 years after the divorce was final. He said he was sorry. He said he hoped I was doing well. I never responded. Some chapters don't need a reply. I still speak Spanish, though now it's only for pleasure. I read novels, I watch movies, sometimes I tutor young professionals who want to learn. The language that started as a secret escape became the thing that saved me. That dinner in San Francisco was the worst and best night of my life. Worst because I heard truths that shattered my reality. Best because it finally pushed me to act. So if you're listening to this and you're in a marriage where you feel invisible, where your interests are dismissed, where you're made to feel small, pay attention to that feeling. Learn the language, build the skill, gather the evidence, find your Lauren, and when you're ready, take your life back. It won't be easy. It will hurt. There will be nights where you question everything. But on the other side of that pain is a life where you get to be fully yourself, where your voice matters, where you're not just decorative, but essential. And that life is worth fighting for.